Hello everybody, how you doing? We're here today doing a video. Today it's a little bit of a departure from my normal Making a Murderer format, and for that I apologize to some of my subscribers who may be a little disappointed. But just know there'll be more Making a Murderer videos coming. Anyways, I wanted to talk today a little bit about serial killers in general, and some of the warning signs that can be looked for, in the hopes that, these guys can be rooted out a bit sooner than they tend to get rooted out. And I think that can happen with a more general public awareness of them and how they work. And it also might be a bit of a help that now we're moving into the information age of social media, and serial killers have always been bold and have done things like pose victims for attention, and various things like that. But now they have social media, where they can tease and play with people, and actually gives law enforcement another tool in helping to catch them and bring them to justice. So, but we'll talk about that here coming up. The subject of the video today is going to be a man who was arrested in South Carolina on Thursday. His name is Todd Kohlhepp. He unfortunately had a woman chained up in a storage bin on his property, chained around the neck like a dog inside of the storage bin, and he's been arrested. I'm going to go into the news article, basically, where you're going to see essentially what's gone on since Thursday. But I know it's a gruesome subject, though. I know this is a gruesome subject, and I'm wanting and maybe calling for the general public at large to really educate themselves more on these types of individuals. It's a bit much, maybe, but you think about it. You think about it for a second, and you think about how gruesome it is to think about these individuals and how detestable they are, and the gruesome things they do, and how disgusting they are. But think about the victims. Think about the sheer helplessness and fear and confusion and rage at being in the situation that they're in when they're under the under the thumb of one of these people, one of these serial killers. And that is hard to ignore, in my opinion. It is extremely hard to ignore. Because, trust me, nobody asks to become a serial killer's victim. Nobody wants that. Nobody asks for that. Well, I don't know. Maybe there are a few freaky people out there in the world who maybe do. I don't know. But 99.99999, percent of people have no desire to be any part of that. So, what I want to talk about here is, in this video coming up, is number one, about this subject, this individual, Todd Kohlhepp, and I want to talk about warning signs and red flags, and how these people can be possibly rooted out sooner, and just a general call for people to become more aware, because it's a scary subject, but we can't just keep our head in the sand when it comes to it. It really requires a more public kind of awareness effort to really, really watch out for these people. So we're going to go ahead and move on into this subject here, into the news article about Todd Kohlhepp, and then we'll talk a bit more after that. Woodruff, South Carolina. A man is in custody after a woman missing from Anderson was found chained up like a dog inside of a container in Woodruff Thursday morning. Todd Christopher Kohlhepp, age 45, is in the Spartanburg County Detention Center, charged with kidnapping. Their solicitor says he is confident Kohlhepp will be charged with murder after a body was found in a shallow grave on his property. So, now this article goes on to talk about him as a sex offender. So it says Kohlhepp was a sex offender. He was registered as a sex offender in South Carolina. The registry says he is a juvenile tier 3 type offender from a October 16th, 1987 conviction in Arizona for kidnapping. According to the court records, Kohlhepp kidnapped and sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl. He was 15 years old at the time of the crime. According to the court records, Kohlhepp had extensive counseling, including hospitalization for his behavior in Georgia. He was living with his biological father at the time of the kidnapping. According to the court's documents, Kohlhepp forced the girl into his home and tied her hands and put tape over her mouth and sexually assaulted her. The court documents also include a psychiatric evaluation that say Kohlhepp destroyed his room with a hammer, destroyed other children's projects, Cloroxed a goldfish, shot a dog with a BB gun, was dismissed from the Boy Scouts because he was too disruptive, and shredded his own new clothes. The report also says his father made a statement saying the only emotion Kohlhepp was capable of was anger. A spokesperson for USC Upstate says he is a 2007 graduate. The Adam Walsh Act created 3 tiers for sexual offenses. Tier 3 sex offender. The term Tier 3 sex offender means a sex offender whose offense is punishable by imprisonment for more than 1 year and A, is comparable to or more severe than the following offenses or an attempt or conspiracy to commit such an offense. 1. Aggravated sexual abuse or sexual abuse or abusive sexual contact against a minor. Or B, if it involves kidnapping of a minor. Or C, if it occurs after the offender becomes a Tier 2 sexual offender. The 7th Circuit Solicitor's Office says that each state has their own rules for the sex offender registration. A kidnapping conviction is a qualifier in South Carolina if the case can be connected to a sex crime. The sentencing judge makes the final decision on registry designation. Okay, so there we found out that Todd Kohlhepp was basically police arrived at his property with a warrant. They heard a girl banging on a metal container, went over and found the girl chained up in the container with a chain around her neck like a dog. They found her. They got her out of there. They got her help. They got her to, medical attention and stuff. And she's going to be physically okay. Not speaking for the anguish that she's gone through. Clearly she's going to, have some problems with that. But physically looks like she's going to be taken care of. They found this. They go into this guy's property and find this. Now, one of the interesting things here is when you read that article that I just showed you, is you see there where he clearly had forced a girl into his home when he was 15, a 14-year-old girl into his house. He had tied her hands, duct taped her mouth, and sexually assaulted her. The judges at the time, when they did the evaluation on this kid, this kid at the time, pointed out that he was destructive. We used a hammer to destroy his room. He Cloroxed a goldfish. That falls under the abuse to animals thing. The forcing the girl inside his house and raping her is also a huge indicator. But you couple that with the Cloroxing a goldfish and shooting a dog with a BB gun, and then, the fact that he was kicked out of the Scouts because he was just too disruptive. This guy has a lot of flags going up. I gotta imagine. I mean, I don't know how this person did not end up with like some kind of a file or something after these things that he had done as a youth, so that when he moved halfway across the country from Arizona, that there would be some indication, there's some knowledge of the fact that this guy had some predisposition. I don't know. Obviously not following him around like he's guilty already, but hey, there should be something like keeping an eye on him. I mean, he was just able to move right across the country and carry on, it looks like, from Arizona to South Carolina. So these are the type of things that I'm talking about with red flags, things that should cause concern, that should be looked at, that should matter. You couple that with what's coming up here in the next piece of the article that I'm going to show you, is that it talks about that he's a real estate agent. And the fact that he's a real estate agent means he must be somewhat involved in the community. So he must know a lot of people. And he's basically operating the way he did right under all their noses. He's right under everybody's nose. Now, what's also going to be mentioned in the upcoming part is about the real estate licensing board and the fact that they didn't end up checking this guy's criminal record. Well, it only became law in South Carolina that they need to check, that they need to do a criminal background check for anybody who's trying to renew or apply for a realtor's license, that they do a criminal background check. So basically he had gotten in before that law passed. He had been renewed before that law passed. So it wasn't going to be until 2017, I guess, that he was going to be reviewed again, and in which case they would have went and checked his criminal past, and this stuff might have popped up. So, I think this stuff should have somehow popped up before then, So this girl and her boyfriend went missing on August 28th of this year, and essentially he had her captive the whole time up until November 3rd on Thursday, November 3rd, which was just a few days ago. So in the antics of what he was doing during that time, I'm going to talk about after I show you this next segment of the article, so that you can see the rest of the story here, of what went down in Woodruff on Thursday. So here we go. We're going to move right into that document now. What happened in Woodruff? Well, Spartanburg deputies were at the property off of Wolford Road in Woodruff Thursday afternoon serving a search warrant. That property is owned by Kohlhepp, according to records. The sheriff said deputies heard a woman banging on a metal container. They found Kayla Brown inside with a chain around her neck. She has been taken in for treatment. They did not find her boyfriend, Charles Carver. The couple had been missing since August 31st. The sheriff says they may be dealing with a possible serial killer here and there may be more bodies on the property. Kohlhepp was a realtor. South Carolina Labor Licensing and Regulation says Kohlhepp is a listed broker at charge at TKA Real Estate and TKA Real Estate Greenville. We talked with the Wyatt Real Estate School, and they said that the law requiring criminal background checks for realtors passed just 2 years ago. The license lasts 2 years, and his expires in 2017. However, anyone with a license before the law passed doesn't have to go through a background check. Did Kohlhepp know Brown? A friend said Brown worked for Kohlhepp cleaning houses, and she met him briefly when she tagged along with Brown on a job. Okay, so now we're going to move into some of this guy's Facebook activity here. I'm going to bring up here a guy by the name of John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy was a pretty scary guy too. He was a very active member of his community, ran a successful construction business, was part of the JCs, well known throughout the community and stuff. And he came into question a few times during his little serial killer career. Particularly, there was a one boy who he had victimized. That his parents basically they knew exactly what was going on. They knew that John Wayne Gacy had done something to their son, and they were positive of it. The problem that would arise, and the way John Wayne Gacy knew he could just dispel any kind of feelings that he might have been involved was he could just easily say, oh well, teenagers run away all the time. It's very common, and the police would agree with him. He knew the police would agree with him. In fact, if I remember correctly, he was even a part-time like volunteer or something like that. He was actually like involved. I don't know how involved, but he did. I think he had actually some kind of connection with the police department. So, and you see that when you watch the story, because even the cops that were chasing him were getting a lot of flack from their higher ups when they were catching him. So I want to bring that up because that is a common thing, and what you're going to see in this upcoming Facebook post by this guy here is him doing a very very similar thing. This post happens while this poor girl is captive on his property. And you're going to see what it says here, and it's going to be basically alluding to the fact that, oh yeah, people go missing all the time, and it ends up being all explained and no big deal. Kind of, it's going to be like his attitude here, and it's. I mean, for me, he obviously knew the community was kind of shocked and worried about this situation, and for him to put up a Facebook post like this, I think is another red flag, maybe even sirens going off and bells and whistles and lights. Seriously, this is a pretty disturbing Facebook post, so I'm gonna let you see it right now. So you're reading the news, this person missing and that person missing and another person missing. Oh wait, that person just went to the beach with a friend. Well, that wouldn't cause them to be missing for 15 days. Or this person was found with their parole violation boyfriend. So that means that they're doing something wrong, right? He's trying to spin like, yeah, anyways. That looks like spin to me. Anyways, other thing that bothers me about this post is down in the left-hand corner. There's some people actually laughing at this, thinking it's funny. But I'm glad to see that there were some people that actually reacted to it in the proper way with shock. So, what I see when I read that Facebook post is just disturbing, because you know that post was made because he knew that people were around town looking for this poor girl. And I mean, for him to say this person missing, that person missing, oh no, wait, this person just went to the beach with a friend. Well, if they just went to the beach with a friend, that's not really missing. They'd be back soon. They wouldn't be gone for 15 days going to the beach with a friend. Anyways. And this other one's with their parole violating boyfriend, that's him spinning. But it's also him, he's probably, that post when he was writing it, he was probably gloating, kind of as he was writing it. He probably felt like this, rush, because he felt like he knew the real story, but nobody else did. And that was probably what he was getting off on here. And that's what makes it so disturbing. But on the other hand, it's that same desire for recognition that all serial killers tend to have that makes social media so dangerous for them. Because this is where we can look now, and we can look for further indicators in addition to the indicators that have been established pre-social media. All these things should be able to be combined together, and they should be able to, be linked together, and hopefully with just a bit of diligence by the public at large, we can hopefully suss out and really prevent the body counts, the high body counts. Hopefully we can figure out these, things sooner and quicker with just a little bit of a concerted effort by the public to be more aware of these people and what they do and how they operate and what can be done to stop them or prevent them. So, because the earlier you can catch a serial killer, the earlier in his career that you can catch him, the better. Because earlier in their career, they're not smart enough yet. They haven't had any close calls yet. So they're still making mistakes, and it's really the easiest time to catch them, because once they get advanced and their body count starts to get higher, they start to get a lot more smart. They've had enough, maybe a close call here and there and whatever, and they start to get a lot more smart, and it begins to get a lot more difficult to catch them. So that's why I say this is a very important subject in my opinion. I wanted to just go ahead and bring this to your guys' your guys' attention today. I plan to go ahead and follow this guy's case here. I will do a video maybe every week or maybe every 2 weeks. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how much information is going to come out about this guy, but it already appears that they found the girl's boyfriend buried in a shallow grave on the property, that he had been shot multiple times to the chest. Don't know how many. The officer that was giving the statement basically just said more than one, and that's the way they left it. So more than one. So we know that was pretty brutal. Apparently the girl and the guy showed up together, and this guy immediately shot the boyfriend to take him out so that he wouldn't be a threat, as he, chained up this girl and did what he was planning to do and holding her captive. It also appears that they know that there are now going to be probably at least 4 other bodies on his property. He has like 96 acres there. So these police officers and law enforcement are pouring all over it, and no doubt with like cadaver dogs and stuff, and they're probably going to find some things. So, and we're going to probably find out some more. There's some talk that he may be linked to the Superbike killings in South Carolina as well. But like I said, in the next video, I'll look more into those things. We'll find out how much factual information is there and stuff. And I will go ahead and report on that at that time. Other than that, I think that's about it. Just a brief introduction into this fellow here, Todd Kohlhepp. And, wanting to prevent these types of tragedies from happening in the future as best we can as a society. Thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day.